There are a handful of pleasures no one can resist in the world, and one of them is creamy, funky, and sweet ice cream. Ben & Jerry's has perfected the art and soul of ice cream. The company has become known for its unconventional ice cream flavors as well as its unusual approach to business. The brand has not shied away from the matters that drive society instead of focusing on business as usual. Maybe that's been the reason for their success. Ben & Jerry's Homemade Holdings Incorporated, or simply Ben & Jerry's as it's known by the average consumer, is an American brand that makes funky and irresistible ice creams, frozen yogurts, and sorbets. This company was once a small business with a single outlet which was a refurbished gas station as their first ice cream parlor. Today, the company accounts for 8.7% of the homemade ice cream market in the U.S. alone, generating about $500 million in revenue. Ben & Jerry's has since been acquired by the English giant Unilever. In today's video, we'll take a deep dive into how Ben & Jerry's rose to become the third largest ice cream company in the United States with a worldwide presence across hundreds of countries. So without further ado, let's dive into the video. As you may have guessed, the name Ben & Jerry's comes from the names of the founders of the company, named Jerry Greenfield and Ben Cohen. The duo has been friends since childhood and were actually born only 4 days apart. Originally from Brooklyn, ice cream has been a part of their lives for as far as they can remember. Starting the company wasn't the first time they dabbled in stuff together, as they actually lived together at a point in time in Manhattan. Both went their separate ways for some time and met again in Saratoga Springs in New York. And it was at that moment they decided to work together and build an ice cream business. It may not have been intentionally planned, but Ben & Jerry chose the right time to enter into the super premium ice cream market. After taking a correspondence course from Penn State that cost only $5 at the time, the two set out to start their business. But things didn't go quite exactly like they wanted, as they initially wanted to sell bagels. But after discovering the cost of starting such a business operation, they made a U-turn and finally decided to launch an ice cream business. With not much in their pockets, they were able to raise $12,000. They used that cash to convert a gas station into an ice cream shop in Burlington, Vermont. They sold ice cream with the hopes of getting the college students to patronize them since there weren't any ice cream shops around, and at best they hoped to become a local brand. The two friends also made crepes and soups, which they quickly dropped out of their product line after realizing there was way more anticipated demand for ice cream. Their focus was now on making the most flavored, chunky, and best ice cream. And they had a thing for the chunky ones because Ben Cohen couldn't perceive smell, which affected his sense of taste as well. Chunks were his way of feeling the creams. Jerry was the one mainly making the flavors. Not all of them were successful, but they made sure to learn from every mistake. On their first anniversary, they started a tradition that would become a core part of the brand and the way it related to the consumers. They held the very first Free Cone Day, which has become their way of sharing fun and having a sense of community ever since. This was in 1979. They were so much into the community and the love of sharing that they held a free movie festival where they also gave out free ice cream during their first anniversary. A few years later, they were already a success and expansion was in order. They started to make ice cream to sell to local grocery shops in 1980. By 1981, they'd opened a franchise in Shelburne. They also introduced more flavors and varieties of ice cream to appeal to the different ways people wanted their ice cream. The company soon demolished its little gas station store and turned it into a parking lot. It was time to grow, and the company had a new Ben & Jerry's on Cherry Street in Burlington. It was also time to expand geographically. Maine was the first town outside of Vermont where the company opened a shop in 1983, along with more flavors, and some of those are now classics like Cherry Garcia and New York Super Fudge Chunk. These were hit flavors, skyrocketing sales over $32 million in 1987. And the founders, Ben & Jerry, also won the prestigious U.S. Small Business Persons of the Year from President Ronald Reagan after expanding into 18 states. Right up to this time, the company had stuck with their business and showed their social side by cultivating community and the fun of sharing. But all of that was to heighten in 1985 when the Ben & Jerry Foundation was started with 7.5% of pre-tax profits to cater for various social interests. This was followed by various campaigns, some extreme, others simple press releases on various politics, social injustice, and the issues of society that they felt needed their attention. They have constantly exhibited a culture that shows that they listen to the happenings around them and take necessary steps even if it means going to jail. At one point, the two got in prison for their very unconventional interest. In 2018, they launched a flavor, Moophoria, which was sort of a fan flavor that showed that they listened to their customers who asked for low-calorie versions. They reduced the fat and calorie levels by about 70% compared to traditional ice cream. Having the consumer in the center of their company isn't the only thing that made Ben & Jerry's success. Let's take a look at multiple keys of their business that helped them reach the top. One of the keys to the almost meteoric rise of Ben & Jerry's is their use of creativity and colored flavors. Their creativity became a way of expressing their thoughts about society, fun, and sharing joy within the communities they operated in. Their use of unique flavors combined in special ways made their products desirable to the masses. Some of the all-time best flavors include Rainforest Crunch, Cheesecake Brownie, Chunky Monkey, Chocolate Chip Cookie Dough, Cake Batter, Economic Crunch, Truffle, and Coffee Toffee Bar Crunch. Another key is their strong mission. Ben & Jerry's don't do business as usual, making profits regardless of their impact on society and the environment. They actually go out of their way to enforce their missions, which are caring for their customers not just by making ice cream, but also by speaking out when there's a need. Ben & Jerry have voiced out, run campaigns, engaged in demonstrations for various social causes, such as when they created a green team to focus on environmental issues. They also made a bus with dollar panels, their use of hormone-free animals and cattle milk in their products, as well as their recycling initiatives. It goes on and on. The company isn't afraid to show its human side and support minorities to voice out the issues that are holding society back. This has become their strong and unconventional mission. There's about 4 different categories of ice cream, and Ben & Jerry's has been at the top of all of them, making the best super premium ice cream in the world. This is one of the reasons you may have to pay more for their product, but when you do, be assured of quality. For over 4 decades, the company has never slacked with production quality, always delivering nothing less. They, therefore, compete not on price, but rather on the quality of their product. They focused on the upper tier of ice cream consumers, and the company knows its target audience very well. That's how they've been able to create products in line with the needs of those consumers. As part of its content strategy, the company uses a lot of social media in its marketing. They're known to pick up a few trends here and there, even naming some flavors with names of trends in various social campaigns. They've partnered with countless social groups. Among their main social media channels, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and Instagram. They have followers who are very devoted to the brand and all that it stands for. At some point, some skeptics began to doubt the brand throwing shade at them, but one thing remains clear, that even after selling to Unilever, they have found ways and means to keep their original mission by having the new holding company agree in legal documentation to adhere to its missions. The last key we wanted to highlight in their strategy is their use of excellent customer experience. Whether you're enjoying the product at home or at a store, the feeling is simply an amazing one without compromising quality. They treat their customers with all the care, focusing on building lasting human relations instead of transactional ones. They've been able to build a loyal following and can be compared to being the Apple of ice cream, as their unconventional ways of thinking differently. The culture is one that listens to customers and genuinely seeks to see customers happy. The ice cream market is at its peak now, and competition is much stiffer now, but Ben & Jerry's has cemented their brand into the hearts of the many customers who've been impacted by their campaigns, their love, and their heart-melting ice cream. It's not business as usual, and Ben & Jerry's is not only a successful business and brand, they're changing what textbooks consider business principles. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications for more inspiring videos. Cheers!